And you guys remember Robert Patrick Lewis, right?
I do.
The Green Beret?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you remember his last book, it was Love Me When I'm Gone, and it was a story about how when he was out off to war, he was able to maintain a relationship with his wife, and it's basically a love story. But he's got a new book out, and it's actually, the first one was nonfiction, but the new one's a fiction book. And it looks like the guy's actually becoming an author, man. I'm pretty proud of this guy. So the new book is called The Pact. It's his second book. It's part of a 3-book series he's writing, and it's based on current events, his experience in the special forces, and his first-hand knowledge of geopolitics and global intelligence. It's kind of like when Dan Brown meets Tom Clancy means Red Dawn. But it's going to change the way Americans look at their government and safety for the rest of their lives, because he's actually got experience with what's going on. What's up, Rob?
How you doing, Dizzle?
Doing good, man. So how did you get into writing all these books suddenly? What motivated you?
You know, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I actually have over 20 books that are outlined and kind of ready to go, and it makes me mad whenever I hear these authors say that they got writer's block, because I just don't have enough time to write. Like, I've got more books than I have enough time to sit down. I don't know what it is. It's just the way my brain works. You know, I've always been a very idea-driven guy. And I just sat down one day. You know, Love Me When I'm Gone came from a bunch of journals that I had kept when I was in the Army. And when I sat down and I actually started writing those, it just, I don't know, it helped a lot. You know, I had some stuff that I was going through when I got back from my last deployment, and sitting down and actually writing all that stuff out, it helped immensely. It really helped with, you know, bad dreams and all this stuff that was going on. And I just got the bug. You know, I just realized that I love it. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought this was my thing. But now I love it every day. You know, every day I get up and I write. I write for a magazine. I write for a local newspaper. I have a column. I got a couple blogs, and I got, you know, a whole bunch of books that I'm working on.
So you were stationed in Iraq, right?
Well, I was stationed in Germany and Colorado Springs, and I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa. Now,
you seem like, since you've gotten back, that you pretty much got it together, and you're making a living. You seem to have a great life going, and it's from what I read a lot of these veterans that come back, their life's a mess. You know, is there any truth to that, or?
It depends, you know. So, like, today's Thursday. I teach a writing therapy course for combat veterans with PTSD at the West Los Angeles VA, and we have guys in there from every war. We have guys from World War II all the way up to OIF and OEF. And it depends, you know. We got a lot of these Vietnam era guys that really they've got some issues, just because if you have a problem and you just let it fester and you let it just sit under, you know, just kind of sit under the skin and just boil, it doesn't get better. It doesn't go away. It just gets worse and worse and worse. So you find the guys with the biggest issues are the ones that never seek help. They never go to a VA. They don't lean on friends and family. They don't find support units. Those are the guys that have a lot of issues. And you know, that's one of the reasons I started this writing class, is because you got guys like me that are just stubborn, that, you know, just kind of, I don't know, just too hard-headed to sit down and talk to somebody. And the whole point is they can get down, they can write it out, write all this stuff that's going on in their head. They can write it out, and you have the same cathartic experience you would sitting down and talking to a counselor without having to talk. And at the end of the course, they have the option, if they want to rip up everything they wrote, they can burn it. We have a big ceremony, or they can share it with everybody. You know, so it helps. But if you just let it bottle up inside, you're gone.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of things. I do yoga 3 times a week. You know, I meditate. I write a lot. I teach this other therapy course. You got to find an outlet, man. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And in a lot of this writing that you get with these other veterans, is it pretty like angry stuff, pretty dark stuff that they're writing about usually?
You know, it all depends. We got some guys that do poetry because they still can't really come out and describe events. We got one guy that was a Green Beret also that's been coming to the post clinic here at the VA, so the PTSD clinic. He's been coming for about 10 years, has never opened up. He usually just sits back in class and has always listened, but he's writing. He's writing, and he shares his stories at the beginning of every class. And it's not really dark. It's actually very matter of fact. It's very, we were on the boat. We landed in Da Nang. You know, we got off. I saw 5 people step on landmines immediately, blah, 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 and it goes on to that. The whole point of this, I'm trying to get people to learn to express themselves and take these things that have been going on in their head and accurately put it down on a piece of paper, because the more accurate you can be, the more detail you can present it with, the more therapeutic it is. And so it gets a little dark because, I mean, as a matter of fact, the stuff these guys saw, no matter what war it's in, it's pretty gruesome stuff, man. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's not demons and stuff, but it's, some of the most evil forms of humanity you can imagine.
Yeah, there's all that ISIS stuff going on right now. Do you keep up with ISIS?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty closely.
Yeah, apparently they found out who Jihadi John is today, so they're making a big deal about it. He looked like me back in high school and middle school is what freaked me out. When I saw his picture, there's certain pictures of me where it looked just like that, so I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the problem lies. If you know how intelligence works, there's a lot of different types of intelligence you can have. You can have human, so you can have human-gained intelligence. You can have SIGINT, signal-gained intelligence. You can have a lot of different things that you use, and you put all these pieces together to try to figure out what's going on. The problem is there's no real way to verify the accuracy of who this guy really is. They've got this little indicator, but to do a true PID, to have a true personal identification on somebody, there's a couple different points of the face you need to have, and that's why they wear this little thing. You can't get an accurate PID by just that. You need to see certain facial features.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is like CSI now, man. Look at this.
Well, and that's another big thing. An earlobe, the human earlobe is just like a fingerprint. So, and that's why you'll see a lot of these guys wear hats, they wear rags, they wear something around their ear. The human earlobe is just like a fingerprint. If you can get 2 pictures of somebody's earlobe, you can identify them just like you can with a fingerprint.
Holy shit.
Jeez.
Wow.
Send Horatio
So
over
this
there.
guy's kind of screwed then. If he's like identified wrong, like if he's not the right guy, like people are just gonna see him and be like, this guy's a fucking terrorist.
Well, there were a lot of guys after 9/11. Some of these people that we were saying were the hijackers that were on these planes, they were still alive in Saudi Arabia and other places, and they kind of popped up going, hey, no, I did not fly a plane into the building. I'm fucking here, guys. So, it is what it is. You got to take it with a grain of salt and just understand everybody collecting intelligence is a human being. There's a person somewhere putting these matrices together and not 100% accuracy.
Yeah, what always annoys me with with all this tracking and intelligence, whenever these guys commit some kind of horrible atrocity, and this happened in France, and apparently it's with this guy as well. You always hear, oh, well, yeah, we were tracking him for 5 years. We arrested him a couple times. Then we let him go. Oh, he got 6 months in jail. And then we knew he's been up to some kind of shit, Yeah. So if they know these are the most horrible people, why are they running around? I guess we're too much of a society that I guess we follow laws. I guess I don't know.
Well, I gotta tell you, man. Like a lot of people. So I know a lot of people that work in various parts of different organizations, right? And a lot of people in the various organizations that we would think would be the guys doing that. They would just go scoop these guys up in a black van and throw a black bag over them and lock them in a place somewhere really dark and really damp and really cold and really wet and just put the bricks to them until they figure anything out. They're really gun shy now because remember, after 9/11, the American public kind of went, "Go get these motherfuckers, go get them, go take them down." And now, in the last 5 years, we started putting CIA guys in jail for doing what the American public asked them to do. And so, of course, they're going to be a little gun shy. Of course, when it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? The next time the American public goes, go, we don't care what you do, go get them. They're going to go, hey, you know what? Sorry, guys, you said that last time, and our buddies are in jail now. So I don't think we're going to do that.
And it also doesn't help the fact that social media and everyone's got a cell phone. That really, it helps things, but at the same time, it can really screw things up real quick too, right?
In what way?
Because if somebody sees or overhears a conversation or sees something going down, all they have to do is film it or hear it, and people get in trouble from all different ways these days. I mean, it's
context.
There is a thing, and this is actually, so the Department of Homeland Security has this now. There's a thing called this kill switch, right? And it's open source information now that we've been using people's own technology against it for a long time. We had Osama bin Laden on his cell phone. We were tracking him via his cell phone signal for quite a while. We've been doing that for well over a decade. DHS has a thing called the kill switch now, where they can essentially, if they're going to do a raid in a certain area, they can hit the kill switch and they can shut off all cell phones within 2 miles. We had the same thing in Iraq and Afghanistan. On our Humvees, we had these little things that we could turn on and it would shut down all radio signals within a certain vicinity of our Humvees so that dudes couldn't pop off IEDs, because a lot of the things was a cell phone,
Holy shit,
a
man.
detonation device. They would call it a cell phone, so we just killed the cell phones.
Shit. That's awesome.
This stuff terrifies me, man, because I think it's just a matter of time before in this country I feel almost like a lot of these ISIS guys or whatever organization they're from are just collecting into this country. They're slowly streaming in. What's stopping 200 of them from? Because you can get guns easily in this country. You can just go to the academy and buy them.
California senators.
Yeah. So what's stopping about 200-300 of these guys to collect, let's say in California, and just lay low, but stockpile ammunitions and gun, and one day suddenly they immediately call each other, all 200 of them, and say, let's go, and 200 of these guys just rush into some kind of city. It's going to take weeks to stop them.
That's the unfortunate thing. And that's why when I wrote the Pact, I see all these kind of chess pieces going on around the world, and I know all these things that I learned when I was in SF from the various intelligence briefs that we get. ISIS is not the first terror organization to have cells within our country. We've known for the better part of a decade there are terror cells all over the United States. I saw a thing today on the news that said ISIS is now in all 50 states. It doesn't matter what name you call it by. There have been enemy terror organizations within the United States for a very long time. We know China and Russia have they have battalion-sized elements of hackers that do nothing but try and hack into our energy grid and our communications grid. And so that's kind of the whole point of this book. I look at the whole world, right? So who are our kind of classical enemies? If there was going to be a big war with the United States, who would it be? Iran, Russia, China, North Korea.
Right.
Well, if you look at what's going on in the world right now, China and Russia are doing a lot of energy deals. Iran, China, and Russia have natural gas deals. All these countries are going away from the dollar as the reserve currency. They're going away from the petrodollar. They're trying to go into their own trade. They're doing a lot of things. North Korea and China have started military actions together. A Russian bomber got caught with a nuclear payload over the English Channel just 2 weeks ago, right? We're on the verge of war with Russia. The media isn't really playing it very much, but we have cavalry. We have tanks rolling on the Russian border in Ukraine right now.
You know what I see Russia do a lot that kind of scares me?
What's that?
They get these jets and they fuck with us just to test out how fast are our reaction times, and they'll have these jets coming straight into our territory, and then they back off just to see how long it took us to launch some kind of.
You're not talking about Top Gun right now, are you?
The inverted MiG, right?
But they're just testing out our reaction times, I've been reading.
There's a couple different things. So one, they're testing our reaction times. They're probing because they're doing it all around the U.S. They're doing it around all NATO countries. There's also another thing. If you look up a guy named Thomas Schelling, he came up with this thing called nuclear deterrence theory or game theory. It's this idea that we're at the point now where we know all these different countries that have nukes. We have such fast, immediate response systems that if we were to ever launch nukes at each other, it would be mutually assured destruction, right? Because the second ICBMs took off from Russia, we would launch all of ours, and it would just be game over. Nobody wins, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
So what do you got to do? The whole point is that they have to convince us that they're still there and that they're ready to use it, right? Not so much that they're going to use it, but if we believe that they're going to use it, it kind of has the same effect of them using it without having to have that mutually assured destruction.
Wow.
I suggest you look it up. This guy's name is Thomas Schelling. He's worked at every think tank on the East Coast. He's written a lot of really highly published books. It's really scary when you think about it. But it shows you, once you read a little bit into game theory and nuclear deterrence theory, you get a really good understanding of geopolitically what North Korea, why they do what they do, Russia, why they do what they do. Because they know they're not going to actually launch nukes. All that they have to do is make us believe they're going to launch nukes, and it has the same effect.
So you're saying like the world is on the verge of war right now. What part does like the UN play, or like these multinational like organizations that are actively trying to promote peace throughout the world and establish diplomatic ties between countries? Like, what are they kind of failing right now?
Yeah, well, if you look at NATO, there's only one nation in the entire world that pays their full NATO dues. You know who that is?
United States?
United States. We're the only one that actually pay all those dues. We're the only one that really put money into it. And it's funny because the whole point of the UN and NATO is so there would never be a world war, there would never be a massive destruction of the entirety of Europe. And they're not doing such a bang-up job. If you look at what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine, if you look at China encroaching on everything in the South Pacific Sea, if you look at everything that's going on over there right now, they're pretty much worthless, right? NATO troops are U.S. troops, right? I mean, that's essentially all it is. They're funded by us. The majority of their force is us, right? So they're not really doing a whole lot to keep any of that. Russia, Putin is a former KGB guy. So when he sees something like that, when he sees something like NATO, he just laughs, right? Because he's one of these guys that strategically is 15 steps ahead of NATO. He's not, while Barack Obama and the guys at NATO and the UN and in the UN Congress are sitting around and politicking and blustering and just, basically getting on the floor to hear their own voice, Putin's thinking ahead. Putin's actually strategizing. Putin's making actual chess moves while we're just running our mouths.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, this is getting crazy.
So,
is this all figured out into your book right now, the newest one?
Yeah, I go into very good detail because, it is fiction, but for me it's based on a lot of reality. It's all these things that I saw going on around the world, and just, the way that we're taught in special forces is to always be 4 or 5 steps ahead of the game, right? To always kind of know knock-on effects of anything that happens, because that's a big thing with us. There's only a dozen of us. We go into a country and we're the only ones in the country. If you kill a chieftain, a warlord's son, like you're screwed. You're not getting out of there. You guys are all going to be hung and probably eaten for dinner. So you got to be really on the ball about being able to see knock-on effects. What's going to happen for everything that I do? What's going to happen 5 steps down the road? What are going to be the unintended consequences of this? And we're very good. We're trained to map all this stuff out. And so when I see all these things going on, and from all the intelligence briefs that I got, when I was in the Army, from all these things that I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa and living over there and being a part of 110, which, that was kind of our job. 110 was created to where if Russia ever started moving west, our job was to go behind their enemy lines and just cause chaos. And so I see all these things that I've known, and I'm looking around the world, and I see every single country that has a bone to pick with us starting to get really, really, really close. The big thing with China is for years, people have always said, well, China would never attack America because we're their biggest business trading partner. They would never do it because of money. They would lose all the business. But there's a saying in business, if I owe you $1 million, I have a problem. If I owe you $1 billion, you have a problem. Because all I have to do is devalue my currency, and then all of a sudden all this money that I owe you is worthless. So if we owe China trillions of dollars, what happens when they wake up one day and realize we can never pay that back?
Right.
But, China is a very resource-poor country. Our country happens to be sitting on the largest oil reserves in the entire world. We outpace Saudi Arabia by a long shot. So what if China ever goes, well, these guys can't ever pay us back. They do everything they can to talk trash about us in their media, their politics, everything else. Why don't we just go take their shit? And so that's the whole idea, is that China, Russia, Iran, they have a bunch of other organizations. They use Hezbollah. They use other small terror cells. They infiltrate our country, and it's pretty ingenious. I mean, the way that I plotted this out is, you have guys like me, and you have guys that I was around for so long that have been on the giving side of multiple invasions. We know how invasions work. So we know how they've set it up. You insert terror cells, you bring them in, use the drug cartels in the south and the north to bring them across the borders that we have. You put them in anywhere, you get them weapons, you get them money. As soon as they get the signal, they just start blowing up bombs. You have these hackers that China and Russia has, bring down the power grid, bring down the communications grid. We're defenseless. We can't recall our National Guard, and the uniformed military is not allowed to operate within domestic shores. So all of a sudden, the United States is completely defenseless. And, we've got terrorists all around in all of our major cities blowing everything up while the main troops fly and sail in from China and Russia.
Wow.
I'm almost afraid
fucking scary
to
shit.
read your book because
that's
I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
It's funny, but it's exactly how we did it, right? And so that's the thing. He who forgets history is doomed to repeat it. My team sergeant, when I was in special forces, he was the guy. He was one of the guys that went into Iraq through the north long before anybody else showed up. They were the guys that went in to prep the assault. I know exactly how this stuff works. I know how they do it, and it terrifies me. It's scary to know this shit and not be able to. I sent my friend a text message the other day when I saw another thing about Russia. I can't remember if it was another nuclear payload or some other stuff that was going on. And I sent my buddy this text message with the URL for the story, and I said, "Man, every once in a while, I wish I could just drink the Kool-Aid and forget that I know all this shit because it's terrifying."
And if you want to be terrified out there and read about this, what actually it's fiction, but it's based in reality. So check out Robert Patrick Lewis's book. And is that your author name, Robert Patrick Lewis?
Yeah, I just use my full name. There's a lot of Robert Lewis.
The book is called The Pact. Pact. Just go to Amazon.com and search The Pact by Robert Patrick Lewis. It's a 5-star rated book. It's great. And what is it? $6.99 now, right?
I think it's $5.99 right now. You can also get the audiobook that was narrated by Mike Dawson. It's not up on iTunes and Audible yet, but it's on his website. If you go to fohmusic.com and click on audiobooks, it's up there. That's the audiobook that's narrated by Mike Dawson from the Adam Carolla show. So you can get in that format. You can get it in Kindle format. Paperback will be out in a week or two. You can also check out thepactbook.com, and that's my website where I kind of explain all this stuff.
I do have a question. 2 more questions. Is that okay? Are we cool?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. One of my questions is, within our lifetime, yes or no? The projections of your book will go down, yes or no?
I would say in the next few years.
Okay, next few years. So that's scary as fuck, right?
Yeah, well, this is Dizzle's prediction. Either this year or the next year, there's going to be a major terrorist attack. I'm talking people with guns running out. I just don't see how it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Economics keeps a lot of the world together, right? So if you look at the stock market's cyclical. Every 7 to 11 years, there's a collapse. The last collapse was 2008. That means we're in the window right now for another collapse. I have a very big idea. I really believe in misdirection. I think that's what governments do. There's a lot of different things that will go on. So if a big, some kind of event happens and the government doesn't want you to know about it, they use misdirection and they make some kind of other thing happen that'll misdirect your attention. I have an idea that when the next stock market collapse comes, and it is coming, it's not if, it's when, and we're within the window right now. When that comes, I think the invasion is coming with it.
Jeez.
So, my last question is: give people out there that are listening to this podcast 2 ways that they can act if they suspect or if they start hearing in the news like an attack has happened. What are 2 things that the general public, the smart ones, should do?
Well, that's another reason that I had for writing this book, because so it's called The Pact because it's based on an actual agreement the old guys on my old ODA and I have together. We all have a place in Colorado. We're all going to link up. We're all going to, we all have food. We got shelter. We got a lot of stuff that we've set up in advance to do this. So we're good. Like, we're going to go there and we're going to do what we do and we'll defend in place.
Hey, what about me and Bonafide, man? Can you include us in on this pact?
I've been getting that question a lot since the book came out. But we're not just going to survive. Our plan is, if this actually happens, we're going to do what Green Beret's doing. We're going to defend, And
Right.
so in our pact, it's only guys that have operated together because we know each other. We know how to fight together. We know all these different things. But the book is very, very, very specific, not only about how the invasion happens, but how we prepared for it, what we have, what we do. And it goes in a lot of detail. And the whole point of that, not for entertainment, it's so that anybody reading it can get a checklist of what you need to do, what you need to be prepared for. And this is coming from a guy that has been on the giving side of invasions, right? So you know what needs to be done because I know how this stuff ends up. I know what happens. I know what goes down. I know what the necessities are. So we outline that very, very specifically.
How are you going to get to your buddies, though? I would think all sorts of transportation, communication would probably be hurting at that point.
That's the first chapter. That's the first chapter.
There you go. You got to check out The Pact.
That's how we know it's happening. The communications grid goes down. And the power grid goes down. That's the first chapter. The introduction is called 0 Hour because for us in our agreement, the second that happens, the clock starts ticking. And so every 9 hours, we have certain things that we have to do, and it's very, very finely detailed in the book.
So let me ask you this: do you have your fill up kind of gas tanks for that midpoint because there might not be the midpoint, the gas stations might not be operational, and Does your car have 8 to 10 ply tires on it? The car that you're taking?
I have an SUV. Each of us has satellite images of the map and the route that we're going to take. So the guys that are in Colorado know which route I'm taking. I am here. I know which route I'm taking. Everything. I'm not depending on GPS. Everything is in printed up satellite imagery for which way we're going to go. We've got a gas container. I've got stuff in it that makes the gas stay good for a lot longer. I also have mechanical things that I can hook to a gas pump at a gas station if the power's out and siphon off my own gas to keep going.
That's cool. What about the tires, man? You can't really roll too far if the tires are not circular.
Yeah, we got good tires. We got extra tires. There's also some other cool things that you can get. There's a motorcycle called a Roll-Con that, it's got
You better go get one right now, man. What are you waiting for?
This is 0 hour, dude.
Yeah. It could happen tomorrow, so you got to probably fill up your gas tank every day, right?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. After an emergency has happened is the worst time to prepare, right? So that's kind of my big thing I'm trying to tell people is whether I'm right or wrong, you need to be ready, right? Even if it's not an invasion, even if it's a natural disaster. Like I'm out here in California, Los Angeles, we're due for another earthquake, man. If that happens, communication goes down, the water lines go down, the highways go down. It's going to be a lot of people here that are screwed. But I got a lot of food, I got a lot of water.
That's why I don't want to even visit.
But then you go to Colorado in that instance as well, yes or no?
If it's bad enough, yeah.
So
like social unrest, something like that, yeah.
You basically have a Walking Dead situation, except with living people that have brains, right?
Well, it's California, so brains not.
But it's rich California, so they're definitely guns and fucked up people. So
yeah, well, that's the problem. The law-abiding citizens don't have guns. The gangbangers have guns for days, but the law-abiding citizens were kind of left defenseless.
Yeah, but there are tons of law-abiding citizens here in Texas as well. My parents are law-abiding citizens in Cali, and they're packing. And
it's very tough. Now they just had a new thing where somebody sued the San Diego Police Department about their handgun bill, and police department lost. So I guess every sheriff in Southern California now is actually giving out CHLs. So
wow.
The tide is changing a little bit, but still, it's just Colorado is where the majority of guys in this agreement. We have about 18 guys in our little group. I'm here. I'm the one that's here. There's a couple on the East Coast. So it was kind of like, yeah, dude, we're not moving. You can come to us if you still want to take part of this.
If I can hustle you a tank, can I get in on your pact in Colorado?
Actually, so my publisher, I wrote the book, I put it to him, and he looked at it and he said, I'm not going to publish this unless there's a Bradley fighting vehicle in there, which Bradley is kind of a tank, more of a personnel character.
That's an APC.
Yeah, it's an APC, right. It's a newer version of the APC. So there is a Bradley involved in there. So that's one thing we're lacking. So if you can get a real deal tank, I think the bargain's open.
I'm going to garage sales this weekend. If I see a Bradley, I'm going to let you know. It might need like some work done, but I'm pretty sure.
On Facebook, there's an actual UH-60 Blackhawk for sale right now. I think it's like $50 million. So I don't know if it'll be a garage sale, but
we can get a deuce. Maybe a deuce. You know what a deuce is, right?
Yeah, a deuce and a half.
Yeah, we can get a deuce and a half at least. That's all over the Craigslist here for like 10 grand, 8 grand.
We got those, man. Because they're in Colorado and because, there's a lot more lax regulation, we've got some really good supplies. We don't have any tanks, but we got some really good supplies.
Yeah, if this invasion starts, I would love to go help Robert Patrick fight, but I'm afraid, like, if I'm running around with a gun, I'm going to get shot immediately. People are going to think I'm a terrorist the way I look. This face of mine will get me shot.
That was you were the ISIS guy.
I'm a Texas boy. I love Austin more than anything, so I'm not going to give away the end, but I will say we end up in Austin at the end of the first
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So,
man, I hope this gets put into a movie or something.
Oh, God, that'd be awesome.
So I have a friend here that's kind of what he does, and he's actually got Love Me When I'm Gone and the Pact right now, and he's shopping them around. So we'll see.
So if you get this into a movie, can we come to the premiere?
Yeah, of course. That's
awesome.
Can we come into the premiere with a Bradley? In a Bradley.
I want the premiere to either be in Austin or Colorado.
How many people can fit in a Bradley real quick? Is it 12 or 8?
I think it's 6 in the back and 3 up front.
Okay, it's 9.
Cool.
So we got to figure out our pact for the Bradley as it goes to Colorado.
We got to figure out how
it's going to have a trailer full of gasoline because that thing probably gets like 1 mile a gallon.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing. Military vehicles are made to run on just about anything. You can put Everclear in a Humvee and it'll run.
Holy crap.
Wow.
So for our audience, if you want to check out Robert Patrick's book, it's called The Pact. It's available on Amazon now. So check it out. And if you do buy the book, leave him a review and let him know that you found out about it from the men's view. So
Please.
Robert, appreciate you coming on, man. You're always a great guest. You always have great information for us. And we wish you the most success with this book. And hopefully it's a movie so we can come to the premiere.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I'm going to be out there. I'm doing a Lone Survivor Foundation thing at Crystal Beach. So I'll be in Houston in May. If you look up Frog Fest, I'll be at Frog Fest for the LSF. And either the week before or the week after, I'm going to come to Austin and do some book signings. So I'll be in your hood, man.
You're going to sit in on the studio then.
Yes, sir.
All right, Robert. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Take it easy,
Have a
Rob.
good one.
Bye.